Greetings, citizens. It is I, Utonico, and welcome to yet another episode of Bad Creepypastas.
Guess what time it is? Oh shit. Bad Creepypasta time! The show that everyone gets mixed up with Michael Leroy's Bad Creepypasta. I realized my mistake. I apologize. And a few months ago I added an S to the end. I don't know, what the fuck am I supposed to rename it to? Give me some ideas. I bet they're shit. This one in particular I found while looking through DeviantArt. I know there's a stigma around real cringy shit being on DeviantArt, but you can find some good stuff on DeviantArt, just like you find good stuff anywhere else, and it's mixed in with bad shit. In this case, I found something bad. So what's going on, Bad Creepypastas? Duh. This one is based on a show back in the day called PB&J Otter. I remember the show, but I didn't watch it much. All I watched back then was Barney and Blue's Clues. I got picked on by a couple of kids in kindergarten for watching Blue's Clues. They're like, why aren't you watching Scooby-Doo? And I was like, more like Scooby-Doo-Doo. Am I right? Am I right? Alright, I've delayed this long enough. Let's just get into the pasta before I go on some fucking tangent. The remnants of this cold are killing me. Does anyone remember that old Playhouse Disney cartoon called PB&J Otter? It was a kids show about 3 otters named Peanut, Jelly, and Baby Butter that taught kids about using your brain to solve your problems. In the middle of every episode, they would do some goofy dance called the Noodle Dance, which is once again their way of solving problems. I grew very fond of the show and watched it every Saturday morning as a child in 3rd grade. One day, I was working at a local BJ's wholesale club around my area where I lived, and after work I went to Staples to have a look around for a gamepad controller. On my way there, a man that looked like around me my age 21 ran up to me and was completely out of breath. I asked if he was okay, but he just handed me a DVD and said, "Please, just get rid of this fucking thing. Don't watch it. It's for your own good." Now, the way this guy looked, he was either on drugs, or he hadn't had any sleep at all for a few weeks. He then ran across the street and into an apartment building. I'm guessing that's where he lives. I looked at the DVD, and it was a blank disc with an, as you guessed, the words PB&J Otter missing episode, watch at your own risk. I thought about just throwing it away, or breaking it in 2. But then I thought, hey, this is a real PB&J Otter episode never released. Why would someone be afraid of a little kid show? I don't know, why don't you, ask all the people who watched Paw Patrol lost episodes? Why Paw Patrol? Fucking why? I then put it in my coat pocket and took the bus home. Later that night, around I believe 9:30 or 10, I was bored, so I thought, might as well check out this disc. What could be the problem? I wish I'd never popped in that disc. The intro was normal, but the theme song was playing in, you guessed it, reverse, with terrible quality. Like it was an old VHS tape. It then cut to static and it just cut to the episode, but something was off. The sky that was supposed to be blue was dark red, like the color of, wait for it, blood. And Lake Hoo-Ha, instead of water, was black goop. It looked like tar. It then cut to the inside of the Otter boathouse, and Mrs. Otter was sitting at the table along with Mr. Otter, crying. Quite predictably, it wasn't acting. It was someone actually crying over Mr. and Mrs. Otter's voice. Predictably. Typical, What the hell was going on here? I said to myself in confusion. The next scene was in the forest, where Peanut, Baby Butter, and Jelly would usually play. It then showed one of the otters facing away from the screen. It was Peanut. The camera had zoomed in very closely, and when it got close enough, he had turned around. And that's when I knew something was horribly wrong with this episode. Peanut had... Wait for it. Hang on. bloodshot and very hyper-realistic eyes, and had a crooked smile with realistic teeth showing. We're just hitting all them cliches, boy. Walking down cliche lane. It kind of reminded me of Smile Dog's teeth, but worse. Don't bring Smile Dog into this, okay? He killed my son. He then stared at the viewer, and an image quickly flashed on the screen. Ho 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 ho. We're taking a page out of Squidward's Suicide now. I know where this is fucking going. I took the remote and went back a few minutes, because I waited a few minutes before I rewound it. Not a few seconds, a few minutes. Anyway, I took the remote and went back a few minutes and paused it. And what I saw will be stuck in my mind forever. It was a dead girl hanging in a tree. It was supposed to look like Jelly as a human. I then pressed play and Peanut started to speak. He wasn't really talking, but he was chanting something in a low voice. So in other words, it was barely audible. The screen then went to static again, and the next scene was even more disturbing. The Otter's house was on fire, but not cartoon looking. The flames were realistic, as if I could touch the screen and the fire could burn my hand. Peanut was standing in front of the camera and said something I didn't even understand, but this time it was audible. So how did I understand if it was audible? Life is nothing but insanity. I didn't understand it, but then again I understood it. I then jumped in shock at what he just said, even though it was really, really predictable and very, very tame. And then another image flashed on the screen, but this time it was Baby Butter and Mr. and Mrs. Otter laying dead on the kitchen floor. Again, it was a human version of them. The creepy music started playing and Peanut was rocking back and forth on a rock. Afterwards, it cut to a black screen with the camera zooming in on Peanut at a fast speed, with him looking crazy. The only sound you could hear was heavy breathing. Like a fat person trying to get to McDonald's before they stop serving breakfast. When it got close to his face, it just paused in a jump scare of Peanut looking like the Exorcist girl with with a loud scream. Like in those Flash games you would play to break your friends with. Oh my god. This is what you come up with. How can anyone come up with this unironically? Anyway, afterwards it just cut to a white screen with loud beeping. I took the DVD and put it through the garbage grinder in the sink. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning I had to go back to work, feeling tired, along with fear. That day after work, I went to the guy's apartment to confront him about this stupid episode. That made my heart race like a bomb ready to explode. He didn't answer after 3 knocks, so I opened the door. Why it was unlocked, I have no clue. And found him dead on his kitchen floor with a bloody knife in his hand with the words, "Life is nothing but insanity," written in BLOOD on his wall. An hour later, after coming home, I found a newspaper article saying a former mental patient was captured today and brought back to a mental institution for the murder of a little girl by forcing her to hanging herself in a tree along with killing her family that was found dead on their kitchen floor. He made a DVD based off a Playhouse Disney cartoon from the late 90s, early 2000s called PB&J Otter, which the murders we mentioned was put in this disturbing film. If you find this episode, please turn it into your local police department. Luckily, I destroyed the disc, so nobody will see this pile of garbage. Please, if you find another copy, if there is another copy, do not ever watch this episode. This is why we have to be more careful on what we watch, because you can end up watching something like this and could be mentally scarred for life, so please be careful on what you watch, whether online or buying strange DVDs. You never know what you're going to be watching. The end. Oh my god, that was shitty. I feel like I need to take a bath after that one. What the fuck was this? Now this Now this pasta was so bad that it's just too easy, and it's cheating basically, and it could be bait. It could be written like that just to be written like that. You never know anymore if it's a bad creepypasta or a troll pasta. The lines are too blurred at this point. But it brings up a certain trope that's really just, even when it was original, fucking stupid. A certain disc or VHS or whatever is sold at a store or given to somebody just to get off their chest, but they're like, oh, don't watch it. But why are you selling it? Why are you giving it to somebody? Why don't you destroy it? Is the manager of the store making you keep it on the shelves just to torture you? But the goings on in this disc were absolutely just god-awful. What our protagonist basically watched was a YouTube poop burned onto a CD. If I wanted to make a creepypasta video at this point, I could essentially, since I've done it before, I've made YouTube poops before, I can make a YouTube poop and burn it onto a CD. And I can even write, contains lost episode. I just wrote on a SpongeBob DVD with permanent marker. I'm a dumbass. Ah, got it off. None of this was scary. It was downright goofy. The fuck was this line in here? Life is nothing but insanity. That is a cheap, tame line. Yeah, it's out of character, but it has no depth. And it just sounds like a parody. Then we have another cliche where the protagonist goes into the person who gave him the DVD's apartment and he killed himself and wrote shit on the wall. Again, it's life is nothing but insanity. And I don't even need to mention the grammar. If you're reading along with me, which I hope you were, you saw it. 5 out of 5 dog shits for this one. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode of Bad Creepypastas. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like, and if you haven't already, subscribe, because I do one of these each month, and they're really fun to do. And I'm glad people enjoy them, and I don't know how to end these videos, so just get the fuck out of my face. I have a weird hairline, and I've had it since birth. I guess that means I'm balding.